And does Plato's cave build upon this kind of thinking as well, or is it something different? That whole thing. About shadows and reality, about how we perceive the world. What is the idea behind Plato's cave? Because I've heard many different explanations, and I would like to know your perspective on it. It's so widely referenced nowadays. Everything from The Matrix to various movies and books are based on Plato's cave.
The allegory of the cave is found in Book 7 of the dialogue The Republic, the 7th chapter. And this allegory, basically, you already mentioned a bit about it. Several prisoners are inside a cave, trapped in such a way that they don't even have the freedom to turn around and look behind them. And behind them, there is a wall. And behind that wall, a fire. Between this fire and the wall, people walk by carrying objects. And the shadows of these objects are cast onto the wall, which is where the chained prisoners are looking. And also, the voices of those passing by, through an echo effect, reach the wall as well. So, for those who are chained, those shadows are real. To them, the shadows are what speak. They are the only thing that exists. At a certain moment, one of them, more restless than the others, breaks free from these chains. He struggles, breaks the chains, looks back, and realizes that everything he saw before was an illusion. He then goes and looks toward the exit of the cave, where he sees a light much more intense than that of the fire, and he seeks to leave the cave. He stumbles, gets up, and falls as he makes his way there, until he finally sees things illuminated by the light of the sun.
Colorful, vivid, three-dimensional.
For Plato, the light of the sun represents the idea of the good. We will discuss this in a moment. So, this man who reaches the outside and frees himself through his own merit would be a philosopher, a seeker of wisdom. But if, beyond freeing himself, he also wishes to bring humanity with him into the light, he would return and try to free those prisoners who remained behind. He would become a politician. Imagine what the concept of a politician was at that time. Someone who, with no personal interest, because he has already transcended that experience, chooses to return.
He could have kept it to himself and enjoyed it. Exactly. Thinking of others.
He says that when a person desires a position of government, it is a sign that they are not truly a politician. A true politician would have to make the sacrifice of returning, to return in order to lead people out of the cave. If he desires it, because it is something that is above him, then he is not the one. Basically, this allegory of the cave, which applies to many things, in reality, but on its most subtle level, it speaks about materialism, about the material reality in which we live. If you consider the way we live, what is real to us are tangible things, things that can be perceived through the senses. But if we consider a criterion of reality, which is permanence, what is real is that which endures, then all these things would be shadows, which are extremely fleeting. We take a glass like this one, it is here now. The likelihood that it will still be here in 50 years is almost none. 50 years ago, even less so. So, it seems to be here, but just a moment ago it wasn't, and soon, it won't be here anymore. This is the behavior of a shadow. You cast it on the wall, it appears, and soon it disappears. It has no permanence. So, the things of the material world, transient and impermanent, would be like shadows. And humanity would live chained by these bonds of ignorance, manipulated by the masters of the cave, gazing at shadows and mistaking them for reality. Until, at a certain moment, the human being exhausts this experience and begins to feel a restlessness, starting to question whether life is truly just this. This is where it becomes interesting, because this doubt does not arise from a rational level. Reason could only see the shadows and believe that the shadows were reality. It is as if he had an intuition that life was not just that life ought to be more than that. And he begins to experience this existential restlessness, which ultimately leads him to break free from the chains. Then, once he breaks the chains and sees that the great light is up above, he begins to seek out this great light, which is a symbol of wisdom. The seeker of wisdom is the philosopher. So, it is the one who begins to climb out of the cave. When he reaches the outside, he sees things illuminated by the idea of the good. Look how interesting this is. When I look at things inside the cave, I see them illuminated as if by a very weak flashlight, which only lights up, or a candle. It only illuminates one aspect of that object, which is what interests me. I only see, in things, what interests me. There is even a phrase by Tolstoy in which he says, "There are those who walk through a forest and see nothing but firewood for their own fire." I fragment things, I only see what interests me. I look with the eyes of my own interests.
I draw water from that, then.
Exactly. In other words, it exists only to serve me, not for its own sake. When you leave the cave, you see things illuminated by the idea of the good. What does that mean? It means recognizing the good of that object in itself, regardless of whether it serves me or not, acknowledging its own right to goodness, which is inherent to it. I intervene in the path of things so that they may move toward their own good, without wanting anything in return for myself. Do you understand that?
I understand.
Imagine yourself in a situation where we are conserving water. And then there's a saying that goes, if you use it wisely, it won't run out. What does that mean? It means that water has no importance in itself. It only matters because it might run out for me. Do you understand? Water, as a being of nature, deserves and has the right to exist here just as much as we do. It should have the ability to flow, to fulfill its own purpose, to moisten the earth. But in itself, it holds no value for us. It only gains value from the moment it serves me. In other words, I do not see things as beings that deserve as much respect as I do. I see them as something that serves me. And I am only interested in what serves me. So, to see things illuminated by the idea of good is to wish for the good of things themselves without wanting to take anything for oneself. It is to respect things for what they are, things in and of themselves.
That's fantastic.